Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint Podcast. Real people, real stories. Chasing dreams, overcoming obstacles. Come get inspired and take action. I know you're ready. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. Today we have Bryan Roulette. Bryan's been with CR3 since day one. So Bryan, how are you?
Good. How's it going, fellas?
I think we can call Bryan an OG at this point, right?
He is the OG.
Right.
It's a good place to start. Bryan, so you've been with the company pretty much since the beginning, and now you're one of the top performing franchises in the country. So what made you open up your own franchise, and what was that process like from being just a typical salesman to now running your own franchise?
Well, yeah, it was definitely a long process. I started out in sales. I'd been in sales for a while, sales management, that type of thing for different companies. Worked for CR3, which is now Branch 1, kind of the flagship store. Managed down here in North Carolina. We had family down here. So came down here, didn't really know the market at all. I'd done my research and kind of, visited here and there. And there was always tons of construction going up. But a couple things that I'd realized, Florence was a hurricane that came through in 2018. So roofing didn't seem like a hotbed of business. The other stuff was new construction. So, when you're driving up and down beaches and you're like, man, there's construction crews everywhere, but I don't know if it fits into my facet, the remodeling side, what we do heavily, the residential side, what we do mainly. But we wanted to make the move. We made the move with the help of CR3, got down here, and then really just started trying to figure it out. When we started to get some jobs underneath us, started to get some good reviews underneath us, which was the big thing. And then I think my optimism kind of grew from there on this area. It was like, hey, and I mean, we struggled at first, big time. We got down here. The leads were slow. We didn't have a good stronghold in the area because I think everything in North Carolina was really spread out. Hey, we did a bunch of jobs in this pocket up here, a bunch of jobs over here, but nobody had even heard of us around here. So luckily from Carney and the work that he had done here, we did have some review base, which was big to like kind of rely on, and then just try to build on that. But I think when it came time to making the decision on the franchise, I felt like I'd put so much work into it at that point, and it was starting to slowly turn where I was like, if it's just do something else or buy in and make it my own, I sat with that decision and thought about it hard and, came up with the decision. Like, I don't want to scratch off all the work I've put into it. That was really what it came down to. And the optimism of seeing, hey, this thing is starting to take the right turn. We kind of figured out our niche at that point where we were, I was always very siding heavy, custom siding jobs, more detailed siding jobs. Up north, that's what the bulk of my business probably was. And down here, it was strange because it started to take that turn, and we were like, okay, well, hey, we're not fighting it because we enjoy doing siding. And it's funny because my buddy that works for me, I remember us swimming in the ocean, looking at all the houses one year, and saying, man, how cool would it be to be the leading hardy company down here? That's what everybody's doing is
paint this town, baby.
Oh man, just put up hardy everywhere. All these beach houses. The turnaround, the lifespan on these houses are not as long as a house out in the middle of nowhere or out in a city or something. The weather is so harsh here, year in, year out. It really, really beats on them. So, and talking to other people that I knew in the area, they echoed that sentiment. And so I made the leap. And the first year we were extremely, happy and saw more growth. It was like the perfect time. Started to hammer out that siding niche even more. And then year two, I remember being like, well, is the winter's going to be as slow as it is up north. No, it's the opposite down here. All the rental homes, everything, they're trying to get stuff done in this off season. So last year was a very strong January and February that just kind of set the mark for the year. And this year has been way even more than that. So we've gotten off to a fast start, and we're looking forward to the future for sure.
Yeah, and I think to me it's more of a referendum on you that when you came down and it was a little bit slower, it's kind of hard when you're starting to run your own franchise and it's slow and those doubts start to creep into your mind.
Sure.
But to me, it's a referendum on you because you've always been an extremely hard worker. You've always figured it out. If something wasn't working, you'd find another way. And as Lester always says, he's not just going to choose anyone to run a franchise. It's someone that he knows has what it takes to become really successful, that is not going to fold when times are hard. And so it's always been that way. You were just a salesman, not just running your business, but you've always been able to figure it out. And I think that's what separates you from all the other business owners around especially North Carolina, is that you figure it out and you find ways to generate business. That's something that Lester always talks about.
That's entrepreneurship. And I'm pretty sure Carney saw that in you, or else he probably wouldn't have allowed you that opportunity and would have just kept you under his wing. But I think, it was probably your time to fly, and that's entrepreneurship. It's risk, it's grit, it's late nights, it's doubt, right? It's people telling you it's not going to happen. You can't do this. We've all seen Rocky, right?
Absolutely.
We've all seen it. So she was saying, you can't win. What did that man do? He won. He figured it out, right? Even if we got to go to the depths of the beaches to figure it out on our own, when we go back, we're gonna hunt what we eat. But again, I go back to OG. I go back to early adopters. They're so important, Bryan. It's important to have people like yourself believe in this mission from the very beginning, because that's what helps propel the momentum. Is a group of believers, but those are the ones that are going to benefit the most at the end of the road. But it's tough because you see all the change, where it started, where it was at, where it's going, how it ends. And I can tell you this from someone who's done it. I mean, with Job Progress, we had many early adopters that became a band of brothers, right? And we figured it out together. When things just weren't going right, we communicated, we talked, and it helped the overall system together. And I believe that's what you do and have done with Carney. You'll continue to do. But at the same time, it's tough because you got to be able to adapt to all this change. And in franchising, if anyone tells you they got this perfect system, you're going to plug into it, you're just going to run, you're going to make all this money, turn around and don't believe them, because it's not perfect. Now, will it be there, 10, 15, 20 years from now? Of course it will be, but it'll be from all the foundation and hard work that those OG adopters put into place, and we'll be able to celebrate then. So it's just tough to get those visionaries, the right visionaries in place. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking to add to our team, because it's kind of tough. You'll get people that are even butted up to your territory, and you're like, hold up, because you have expansion plans, and we want those for you too. But just rest assured, we're going to put the right people around to help the overall system, and we're going to help you grow in those areas that you want to grow. But it takes the OG adopters, and I'm so appreciative to have someone like yourself. And I didn't even get to handpick you, so I know Carney picked you up.
Much appreciated, man.
Yeah.
So to tell us obviously you've had tremendous growth over 2 years now, 3 years.
Yeah, we'll be on our third year coming this May. That's the start of our third year.
Let's talk. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lester.
Let's talk about multiple products, because obviously we're full exteriors, and I think there's other franchises out there. There's siding franchises, there's roofing franchises, super specific, which could be good, right? But I do believe our model and the way that we pitch our products is what's going to really separate us apart because we're full exteriors.
Agreed.
And you were selling a ton of siding. Talk about when that transition kicks in to selling roofing or windows or doors, and then how easy it was after you took that leap to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, I feel like the learning curve on knowledge wasn't that long just because I had so much siding experience. But the switching it and kind of saying, hey, why are we not doing as much roofing as we'd like? Like, why are we doing so much siding? And then kind of the mindset changing and being like, let's look at our average roofing ticket here, $10,000 to $15,000. Our average siding ticket's almost 30, so you do 5 jobs in siding and you would have to do a ton of roofing in this area to equivalent that. But it was, hey, we don't want to turn our back on roofing. We still do it. Let's do as much roofing as possible. And that combined with the, hey, let's just keep pumping up the siding and our space in that realm really led to us. I think our specialty last year was full home remodels, where we were doing, siding, roofing, windows, doors, decking, porches, everything on the exterior that we can remodel. We can remodel. And, I remember when I lived up north, I had one, and this was kind of ingrained from me at the beginning of when I got into this industry, just from mentors and things like that. If there was an opening and you're sitting there getting ready to sign a contract on a roof and you see the windows are over 10 years old, or you see siding, Carney knows I'd go get every kid I had, to bring them in and say, well, hey, are we financing this? We can work this in, what makes sense? Because the only thing I can guarantee you is that if you just do your roof, these other 4 things, the windows, the siding, everything, you're ready to get something done now, everything's going to be more expensive in a year. Everything's going to be a lot more expensive in 2 years. So that is the one thing that I can guarantee you about the prices and what's going to happen. I can't guarantee you that you're going to be making more money in 2 years, but I can guarantee you this is going to cost more. So it was really kind of focusing on that. And I think we got a couple reviews under the belt where we had clearly done, full home remodels, and the customers posted great pictures and that type of stuff. And we're on one now up in Swansboro, which is about 45 minutes, an hour north of me. Those ladies, they sought me out. They read our reviews and they said, we have a very specific job. It's decking, it's windows, it's converting a sunroom into kind of a 3-season room, hardy siding, gutters, fascia. And they said, it seems like that is your realm, after reading through the reviews.
Right.
When I went there, as long as I'm treating them fair and giving them a fair price and listening to what they want in it, that's my job to lose. They've already kind of chosen, hey, we want that person. Hopefully he lives up to the reviews. And I think so far we're about 50% through that job. I think we've exceeded them so far. So, that was a big part of it. And when just your siding ticket, which is an average of 30K or whatever it is, all of a sudden you're adding windows and a roof to it on a lot of these jobs, then you're talking about 30K goes to 60, goes to 70, goes to 80. And you don't need many of those monthly to have a really, really good month in this industry.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because up north of Maryland, Pennsylvania, when someone needs their siding or roofing done, it's more of I just need it done so my roof doesn't leak into my house. Down there, I could imagine you're by the beach. You actually really care what the exterior of your house looks
Absolutely.
like. You want it to look like you're in a beach town. You want to have a nice, beautiful blue or beige color with a nice roof and windows. And I'm assuming your sales pitch had to change a little bit going down south by the beach. Like, you're not up north anymore. You're not just trying to say, hey, you got to protect your home. And obviously you have to protect your home down south too, but you want your house to look beautiful. You want it to look like you're at the beach. You want people to drive by and say, man, that's a beautiful siding and beautiful windows. And now I really feel like I'm on vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing with that is a lot of times this is the final place that people are moving to. So if this is the final place they're moving to, are they buying a home often that they're going to get out of in 5 years? No, a lot of people are coming here to buy their dream home.
Right.
So are they going to spare any expense? I mean, Lester was just talking about possibly moving to a beach. If you bought a house and it didn't look exactly like you wanted, and that's going to be the house, hey, this is our forever home, you're probably going to spare no expense making it look how you want it to look. So you couple that with really the damage and the hurricanes that these houses go through, and then it's like, hey, I got two boxes to check. I need to make it withstand hurricanes, and I need a guy who knows how to do that on this house.
Yeah.
And I want to make it look as nice as possible. So that really led us into, figuring out manufacturer wise, hey, what's the best? What's longevity wise? What lasts the longest? What do we see the nicest houses have on it? Who has the best support on the ground around here? And that really led us to, we do a ton of vinyl, but that really led us to the fiber cement and the James Hardy siding, which has been, as you guys know, a huge part of our business. And then that was another thing that kind of bumped our average ticket size up, because it's a very, it's not a cheap product, but it also weeds out the companies that you're going against. I say this all the time. I think roofing, you could find a lot of capable roofing crews in this area install wise. I mean, you could find probably 100 of them, if I really tried. Siding, especially Hardy, especially pre-finished Hardy, your pool size of crews really shrinks. And who can do it well, who's willing to go through the extended training from the manufacturers,
Right.
Who's not, so prideful that they don't want to listen to some rep come out and give them some better practices on ways to do things. So I really think your workforce, your install crews need to echo that, need to be willing to learn and take the extra step. And our main crew, they took that and ran with it, and they were used to primed Hardy. We did Hardy that needs to be painted after, which is a lot easier of an install. We do more of the pre-finished stuff, which takes a lot of extra work. And we basically said to them, hey, we're going to be moving in this route. You can get on board, and there's going to be a lot of business for you from it in the future. And they did. And I think, that was a guy I met at a gas station, saw that he had the tools on the back of his truck. He saw my truck. We chatted it up, went to a job site of his, hit it off. We had him on a job the next week. That was, almost 3 years ago. He does 80% of our siding, and I don't, they were doing work for high-end builders. They don't even really do much work for them anymore because we keep them busy around the clock. So
Good.
Just being willing to go the extra mile and put the time in on your craft can really kind of change your trajectory.
Yeah, let's pivot there a little bit back to franchising. So again, you're seeing someone in a gas station, the branding of CR3, I get a compliment every time I hear someone say, dude, your branding is so on point. Do you feel that you get those type of compliments when you're out there, when the badges are on your truck, and does it seem like it separates from just like a mom and pop kind of feel?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, all the branding, the images, the logos, everything. I mean, from the time back when I decided to come on board with CR3, years ago, that was part of it, what got me, and it's grown tenfold since then. I was with companies that I was very, very unpleased with the branding, didn't feel like they had a clear, we're going this way with it. The social media of CR3 is what caught my eye at first. So it's cool to know that that's still happening even more. We just got a billboard up yesterday, so I'm going later today to take pictures of that. And it's sharp looking logos. I think it's an all encompassing thing, because it's not a every franchise is going to be the exact same. Some
Right.
people are going to do mostly roofing. Some people might mostly do siding. You might have a franchise that pops up that's 80% windows at some point. We do it all. And I really believe if if you looked at most markets, most good markets, there's going to be an opening in one of those, I would feel, one so more than the other. And then with you being able to do everything, it's just going to add to it. So, but yeah, the trucks, the logos, the billboards, I mean, they grab some eyes, the colors, the black and orange. I mean, me being a Maryland guy, born and raised, I like the black and orange. So that goes a long way. But yeah, it's definitely beneficial to have appealing looking, branding and getting your name out there, and the social media is huge.
Good. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm proud to wear it, but again, just time after time, all I hear is your branding so on point. We're getting down to the end of the podcast. So I guess let's talk about what franchising meant to you before you got into it, what it means to you today, and what do you think it's going to look like 3 years from now? Like, what's your different perspectives, do you think?
Franchising from the beginning, honestly, kind of seemed like, hey, I do the work and I'm paying royalties. That's what it, and I know that's what it seems like, because I talked to some of the, prospective franchise guys that are looking to possibly open one for you guys. So I talked to a lot of them, and they have that same feeling. And I'm like, hey man, I get it. That was my exact feeling. When you get in and realize like the tools that are at your disposal to really speed it up. And I think it was beneficial to me that I had been with startup companies before that started from the ground up with no other name, just trying to, force their way in it. It really does, let you hit the ground running. I mean, you're moving a lot faster through things, from the financing to the how am I getting my installs set up, to the supplier relations, to everything. I mean, it cuts out so much time, and instead gets you right to the most important part of it, which is the making money part of it. Right. You're speeding things up on a timeline that's so fast compared to the rest of the industry, and I think that's what CR3 is always preached about is speed, speed and efficiency. And that's really the biggest thing to me now, looking back on it. Also, the success of now I look at it as, hey, the success of other franchises, we all have a competitive nature in us. So you want to be the best, and you want to be top dog, and you want to win that month.
There's money involved, and there's money involved.
Yeah, there's definitely money involved, but there's also, if you're not a self-competitive guy, like, you shouldn't be in this industry. If you're the type of person that, when you're playing sports when you're younger and your coaches were like, hey man, you freaking hate to lose, I can see it on your face, like, chill out a little bit, then you're this industry is probably not for you. You really need to, and you need to be competitive with yourself. You need to be able to look at your prior years and say, I want to beat that. I made great money this year. I want to beat that just for a personal thing in my head. I want to beat that guy from last year. So you have to have that in you. And now, with that, I can step aside of it and say, well, hey, that other franchise's success, it's really building my brand. It's nationally, this is a national thing. So it's building your brand. It's making you more visible in one way or another. And then it's also building the value in your franchise, So, it's cool to see. And it's cool to see other franchises that weren't really ever on the leaderboard at the end of last year, seeing different locations pop up, and you're like, cool, man, they're starting to figure it out, So it's a cool thing to be a part of, and just realize it's all a conjoined effort by a bunch of different independent guys guys and girls who are trying to make their franchise the best.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to a slice of something big is worth a lot more than something small. Sure. So that's what you got to kind of wrap your head around in the beginning, which is tough because everyone just goes straight to the royalties, like you said. But think about the value, the growth, and then again, just like you said, a lot of folks are moving down in your area for kind of the last hurrah. They might be coming from Long Island, New York, right? We have a CR3 branch in Long Island, New York. Maybe they got their home remodeled there. Now they're moving down to your neck of the woods. Americans typically buy from brands that they know because they had a great customer experience. So now they're going to look at CR3 down at the beach by you. And that's where that really comes into play, where if we're all doing the right thing and we're all searching the perfect customer experience and we're all delivering that, because you're a complete professional and what we look for and adding to this mission. And if we're all doing this and giving that same experience, we're all eating even when we don't know it's happening. So the power of that brand and that group, it just goes 10,000 different ways as far as benefits that we don't even realize. So we appreciate you once again, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Well, Bryan, thank you for hopping on. It was a blast.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm pumped to see your success. I was telling Lester before we started this podcast, I said, man, it's been a long time. We came a long way from when I was door knocking with you 5 years ago in your old truck to now running, your own franchise, and a successful one at that. So thanks again for coming on. And, I really appreciate you. And I can't wait to see the success that you endure the next 5-10 years.
One more thing before we go. If you could just leave the people with one piece of advice, if they're looking or exploring in our discovery process, because we don't sell these things, we need to award them. But if someone is considering CR3 as a home base, what piece of advice could you give that individual?
I would give them the advice: listen. Listen to the CR3. Really, they've done it. They've led multiple franchises to really successful first years. So to hit the ground running, really be a believer, like you were saying, like adopt the system, get into it. They're going to start you on things, a chart. Hey, get this done, get this done, get this done, to get off the ground running. That's the most important part. Hit that, attack that with speed. Get that done so you can move on to the most important part, which is, like I said, building a business and making money. So, every single day have a list made and cross stuff off that list on how do I get to the 1 yard line and start my drive towards that end zone, so to speak, to make it happen. So that would be my best piece of advice. Attack those first steps as fast and as hard as possible, because it'll make things move so much faster. You'll get some money behind you, and then it's just off to the races.
Love it. And then that doubt continues to go away and you continue to rise. That's how it works. Very good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again, Bryan. And Lester, thank you as always.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
To the moon.
See ya.